Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Friday?
Weekend. Happy Labor Day, everyone.
Yeah. Fix the camera. There we go. We got a really, really great show. Quarterback ones have been announced. Week one is quickly approaching. NFC predictions, the post-preseason before week one standings predictions. We did AFC on Tuesday. Now we are doing NFC today towards the end of the show. We got a great show planned. Brandon Aiyuk, that's the one we're going to start with. Let's jump right into it. Brandon Aiyuk, after several months of speculation with potential trades, with disagreements, with he's dapping up Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Is the deal done? What's going on here? It's finally come to an end. It is a 4-year, $120 million contract extension with the 49ers, along with $76 million guaranteed. What's crazy about this offer, what's crazy about him signing this deal, according to Adam Schefter, Aiyuk, this deal was the same deal that was offered to Aiyuk back in August 10th. Nothing has changed. Aiyuk decided, you know what? I guess I'm going to sign it. I'm not going to get more. He already turned down the Patriots $32 million. He didn't want to be there. So now he's staying in San Francisco for the next 5 years because he's on the fifth-year option. Now he's going to go a 4-year contract extension for $120 million, $30 million per year. I want to know, do you think that this was a fair offer, a fair deal for Brandon Aiyuk?
I think he did well to get this much money, personally. 4 years through 2028. But he actually plays on his current contract for one more year, right?
Yeah,
so he's getting
on his
$14 million this year before he steps up to the $30 million next year, $76 million guaranteed. So Lynch said, we're thrilled to have drafted him in 2020 and now equally excited to have him in the fold for the years to come. Brandon is a special talent who is a warrior on the field and plays with the passion that we look for in the 49ers and 49ers. We look forward to Brandon continuing to be part of what we strive to accomplish as an organization. Well, everything's all happy now that he's signed the deal and they have him for what was said to be an offer that was made back in, as you said, August 10th. His agent denies that, so that's a little bit of a controversy there. He's 6 feet tall, 200 pounds. He was a first rounder in 2020, number 25. He's played in 62 games so far, 60 starts. He has 269 receptions, 3,931 yards, 14.6 average, 25 TDs. He's been in 9 playoff games so far, 24 receptions for 393 yards. 16.4 average and 1 TD. He's a second-team All-Pro in 2003, played 16 games, 75 receptions, 1,342 yards, which was 7th in the NFL. 17.9 average was 2nd in the NFL, which is great. 7 TDs. It's his second consecutive 1,000-yard season. He's 26 years old now. He went to Arizona State University. He was a third-team All-American in his senior year. He had 65 receptions, 1,192 yards, 8 TDs. There was a lot of trade speculation, a lot of back-and-forth drama. This has got pretty wild for quite a while. He wound up being the 6th highest-paid receiver. I think you're going to show the stats in a few minutes here. He got a deal 3 days after CeeDee Lamb got his. Or maybe he just decided to sign the deal that he knew was already out there at that point in time. I think those are my comments for the moment about Brandon Aiyuk. I think he's very lucky to be able to stay with the 49ers after all the grief he gave them. And is he really that good? I see him down in the lower threshold of that elite receiver group for sure.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't call it luck because the 49ers have said from day one they didn't want to get off him. So that the trade or whatever the case may be with that was, it would have been a last resort that he's not playing until he gets his money. He wants more than $30 million per year. So I don't think any luck was really behind it. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk was lucky. First off, I'm going to say this. Aiyuk played this terribly. The 49ers played it perfectly. Aiyuk thought that his value, which was much larger than it actually was, on a team that's stacked with talent that he's not even the first option on, because originally it's Christian McCaffrey, then it's a battle between Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, then it's then it's Aiyuk. So he's not even the first option on a team like the Patriots, a team like the Steelers. He could have been a good complement to Pickens, or he could have been the wide receiver one, and Pickens would be his complement. Also with the Washington Commanders, you could make a pretty decent argument that he probably could have been wide receiver one over Scary Terry if he did get traded to the Washington Commanders. And on the Patriots, he would have been the number one receiver, no question about it, day one. As soon as he enters the building, or as soon as the trade goes through, he'd instantly be the number one receiver. But the Patriots offered him $32 million. He turned it down. $32 million per year. He turned it down. He didn't want to play with the Patriots. I can understand why. The team's not good. Now they have Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback instead of Drake May, who the head coach said outplayed the now starter, but didn't want to play him. Strange how that is. But back to Aiyuk now. So, think about this. Aiyuk was trying to get very big money, over $30 million a year. That's what was reported. And he turns out, here's the list of contracts. Now we update it every time. We updated it Tuesday when it comes to CD's contract. And now we had to add Brandon Aiyuk, and Jalen Waddle gets a little bit of the boot off the top 6 list. So yeah, there's Aiyuk right now. $30 million per year, $76 million guaranteed, 4 years, $120 million. That's his contract. So he was trying to, at least that's what the early reporting was, try to get more than $30 million. Well, is he a top 10 receiver? Is he a part of the class of, let's bring him up again, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Tyreek Hill? I think you can make a strong argument that he's not. Is he a very, very talented receiver? Absolutely. Was he the second best deep threat in the NFL last year? He absolutely was. Was he top 10 in receiving yards last year? For sure he was. Is he Brock Purdy's favorite target? Statistically, yes. He had the highest passer rating when thrown to. But if we talk about everybody's healthy, I have about 11 receivers, and especially, I would say, the first 8. There's really not really an argument that Aiyuk is better than these. Let's go. Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, and this is where you get into it. Puka Nacua is included with this 8 and after. Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, and Jalen Waddle. And then you have Aiyuk. By the way, that was not in order of who's the best receiver. That was really just orderless. I was just simply rattling off names there. So you could argue that he's not a top 10 receiver, so why is he trying to make top 2 money? Is he worth it on a team like the Patriots? Sure. On a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers? Sure. On a team like the Commanders? Sure. He already got paid $32 million, which would have been over Amon-Ra St. Brown, which would have been over Tyreek Hill. So it would be $2 million away from CeeDee Lamb. It would have been more than A.J. Brown. Or actually, it would be, tied with A.J. Brown, right? $32 million? Yeah, it would be tied with A.J. Brown. So my big thing with this is Aiyuk played this terribly. He played it like the team desperately needed him. When you look around and they have the deepest roster, when you talk about overall talent, the best roster, you had receivers, you got Juwan Jennings, you have Ricky Pearsall, who could have been your drafted replacement. You already have Deebo Samuel. You have George Kittle. You got to get Trent Williams back in the building, which with this contract, I think it has to be Trent Williams because Brock Purdy is a horrible quarterback when Williams doesn't play. But as of right now, this deal had to get done because we saw it in the preseason. Purdy looked a little bit off. So he's back in the building. Is this a desperation move for the Niners? Absolutely not. It's more of a comfort piece because think about it. Aiyuk wasn't there, and they were still number 2 in Super Bowl odds. He's back. They're number 2 in Super Bowl odds. Nothing's changed. Defense is still great.
Yeah. I think Aiyuk could benefit. I agree with you. Aiyuk benefits from the deep talent that the 49ers have, skill players on the field when he's on the field. That means that the defense can't scheme for him exclusively. They have to worry about a lot of other pieces out there, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuels, George Kittle, and Brock Purdy. So I I question whether he's the elite talent that he thinks he is. I think if he were playing on a team like the Patriots, he wouldn't be getting 75 catches a season or 1,300, almost 1,400 yards and 7 or 8 TDs because the defense would they double team him. I think that he benefits a lot from being on that team. Maybe he woke up and realized that and decided, hey, I'm going to sign this deal.
I think it's also a realization of, am I CeeDee Lamb? No, because CeeDee Lamb just got 1,700 yards and broke Cowboys records that have stood for over 30 years. Was I a great player? Absolutely. And this is what I said. I said 30 would be the max because we talked about this several times on the show. It's been a long, dragged out, completely unnecessarily dragged out. But we've talked about this several times. My number would have been 28 or 29 million. 30 would be the cap. He got signed at 30. So to me, this is not a surprise he signed. If it was above 30, if it broke Tyreek Hill, if it broke Amon-Ra St. Brown, we'll bring it up one more time, like that would have been a little bit surprising to me because those guys are true wide receiver ones. And honestly, that could hurt Aiyuk's value. He's not the number one receiver. It's Deebo Samuel. And then you could look at George Kittle being another great asset. He's not the number one receiver on the 49ers, so why should he be getting paid like these top-tier, bona fide wide receiver ones of Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb? He's not in that class because, well, yes, while Purdy may appreciate him a lot and make him, his favorite target, the 49ers say Debo's the number one guy.
Yeah. Well, I think Tyreek Hill will be making some noise pretty soon. He's dropping further and further down the list here, and now he's tied with Brandon Aiyuk, and his deal is $90 million for 3 years. Aiyuk got 4 years for $120.
Well, he reconstructed the contract about, I want to say, a month ago. To, I believe, get more guaranteed money. I could be mistaken with that. But he did alter his contract this offseason. Now the question is, will he want more money by the time the
his contract's going to be coming up here pretty soon?
I think relatively soon, yeah. So we have to take a look at that. Tyreek Hill may be wanting money.
Well, who do you think is the number one receiver in the NFL?
A number one receiver?
Who is the number one receiver?
The best wide receiver?
The best wide receiver
when healthy,
in the NFL.
it's Justin Jefferson.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's any question.
And you think CeeDee Lamb is number 2?
I'd put Tyreek Hill 2.
You put 2. Tyreek Hill 2.
CeeDee Lamb is 3.
Okay. 4?
I'd go Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, who is now holding out.
And supposedly he wants more than Justin Jefferson money, even if it's a penny more. So he wants to set the wide receiver market. And still, he's a year early. He's trying to get this out of the way now.
Yeah.
If I had to give my top 5, it'd be Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and I'd probably, when healthy, I'll put Cooper Kupp in there. I think Cooper Kupp is the fifth.
Cooper Kupp.
I think he benefits greatly from Matt Stafford, who I think is underrated.
You don't think Puka Nacua is moving up in the ranks?
I have him already around the top 10 list anyway.
Yeah. Do you think the 49ers didn't think they weren't that pleased with the way Pearsall played in the preseason?
Well, Pearsall was dealing with an injury.
He's a first-round draft pick.
Well, no, Pearsall was dealing with an injury, and the 49ers knew this about drafting him. They just wished that it wasn't an issue. Turns out, it's an issue. It's a pretty big issue. It could be a lingering issue, which could lead to Pearsall being considered a first-round bust because of his availability or lack thereof.
What's the injury?
I think it's a leg injury. I could be mistaken. I think it's a leg injury.
Huh.
So he's not practicing. He's not playing. He's not doing anything besides rehabbing.
So that had a factor on this
that
too.
They knew. But they still drafted him first.
That had a factor
in the
here.
first round.
That had a factor for sure.
Absolutely. If Pearsall went out there fully healthy, the injury wasn't an issue. He's going out there balling. I mean, you could think about, well, there's your replacement. It's right there. He's performing very well. So it's all because you're on the 5th-year option. You have to show up. You're losing game checks. You show up, or you could watch Pearsall take your job, and then we could trade you for a first-round pick.
Or they could have, if Pearsall was healthy, could have just got rid of Aiyuk and let him get in there.
Well, you would want to see how he is. You don't want to trade him now.
But if he'd had the reps in the preseason, you would have had a better idea.
How much weight are you putting on the preseason? He could absolutely ball out. Trey Lance just had 323 yards, but he had 5 interceptions. So do you want to say, do you want to look at the 323 yards, or are you looking at the 5 picks, and how much weight do you put in that?
I'm looking
Mac
more
Jones
at the 5
tore it up.
picks.
Mac Jones tore it up.
He'd be sitting on the bench all year.
Daniel Jones looked like crap.
Yeah.
Again. Now people are saying,
but
it's the preseason. He's coming back from an injury. I'm not sure, but no, I think if Pearsall was healthy and he showed glimpses, if he did have a really, really good preseason, and Aiyuk was still sitting there watching this happen, then I think he might be inclined to take a couple million less just to get it signed, just to make sure that he has a spot on this team. I think the big factor now is Deebo Samuel. The 49ers could save, I think, about $9 million off their cap space for next season if they get rid of Deebo Samuel. I would not be surprised. I'll say it right now. Friday, August 30th, 2024. I think there's a decent shot Deebo Samuel is not a 49er in the 2025-6 season.
Do you think this is the window for the 49ers and it shuts after this year? They got to win the Super Bowl this year? They've got all the talent. This is it.
Because Brock Purdy's going to break the quarterback market. Brandon Aiyuk just got paid. Trent Williams still needs to get paid. George Kittle's aging. CMC injury, and he has 1 year left.
Debo, you think, is gone?
Debo could very well be gone for cap reasons. In order to pay for Trent Williams, in order to pay for Brock Purdy, he may need to be a cap casualty. So I think that there is a shot that this could be, and honestly, we could say last year could have been the best opportunity for them to go out and get a championship because the Chiefs were garbage. They were not a good football team. And all of a sudden, in the playoffs, it clicks beautifully.
Heart of a champion.
This was an 11-6 team that
Heart
Kelsey
of a
looked
champion.
old. Kelsey looked battered and bruised. You went into the playoffs, and all of a sudden, it's like, here he is again.
Heart of a champion, something the 49ers defense sort of ponder since they didn't have it last year. Brock Purdy got them the lead in the fourth quarter and in overtime. The defense gave it up.
Fair. We talked about this before. I think there's a little bit more than that, but we're not going to hash out something back in February. But I do want to start with this one. Let's talk some quarterbacks because Gerard Mayo recently announced that Jacoby Brissett will be the starting quarterback after these 3 preseason games where he's been flip-flopping on some of his statements saying that Drake May is 100% the second best quarterback on our team and also that he has outplayed Jacoby Brissett. And he recently made a statement about who the starting quarterback was, so take a listen to what Gerard Mayo had to say about the Patriots' 2024-2025 starting quarterback in Week 1.
We have decided, or I have decided, that Jacoby Brissett will be our starting quarterback this season. As an organization, we're 100% behind Jacoby. There is no, you got a guy right here, you got a guy right there. We're 100% behind Jacoby. And I had an opportunity to talk to Drake. I had an opportunity to talk to Jacoby separately and also together. And I feel like we're all on the same page from an organizational perspective.
So, do you think Gerard Mayo made the right decision to start Jacoby Brissett over the 3rd overall pick in this past year's draft, Drake May?
I do. I think this was the right decision. Named him the starter on Thursday. Even though Drake May played well in the preseason, he was fun to watch. He's progressing well. They're sticking with the plan to bring him along a little bit more slowly. Brissett was always considered to be a bridge. I think he's always going to be considered to be a bridge to Drake May. And you just heard Mayo say we're 100% behind Jacoby. I feel like we are all on the same page as an organization. A lot of factors led to this choice. The hard part is thinking in the short term and the long term at the same time. I'm not sure I totally follow that, but I guess I do. They're thinking short term, we'd like to win some games. In the long term, we know Drake May, we drafted him number 3 to be our long-term quarterback. I didn't want to get into the hypotheticals about May getting in later in the season, but I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. As long as Brissett performs as expected, he's going to be the quarterback this season. Well, I expect him to win, and that's going to be very hard to do with one of the toughest schedules in the NFL and a brand-new team and a brand-new set of coaches. I think that and a team that only won 4 games last year. I think they talked to Van Pelt. He says he thinks Brissett is better at problem-solving defenses at the line of scrimmage, which comes with his 9 years of experience. Brissett has played in this offense and understands the tools that can be used to get out of pressure situations that May is still learning about. Quarterback is the hardest position in sports, especially for a rookie who has not seen all of the defenses in the NFL. The Pats are going to play multiple playoff caliber defenses early this season. Interestingly, Jacoby Brissett beat the Bengals in 2022 when he was with the Browns, 32-13. He had 278 yards and 2 TDs and an 82 quarterback rating. So maybe they think they can sneak out a win here somehow, although I don't think it's going to happen. They're playing on the road against the Bengals with Joe Burrow coming back off his injury. He's going to be very hungry. I think he's going to start the year really fast, and I think it's going to be a long afternoon for the Patriots.
Well, my big question with the Patriots' decision, and yes, I was very critical of Drake May because of his level, what we heard about in that 2022 campaign where he was destined to be right behind Caleb Williams in the draft class. And then in 2023 with, I guess you could say that he had probably the worst supporting cast, and he actually became the first top 3 quarterback in history not to have an offensive teammate selected in the top 100 of the same draft. So I guess you could say, and there's a little bit of context that needs to be included there. I think this is the wrong decision. And we always heard a lot of different examples. You don't want to ruin him like Mac Jones. You don't want him to get hurt. A bunch of different reasons. But we also heard that Drake May is a project. What is Anthony Richardson? A project. What was Trey Lance at the time the 49ers drafted him? A project. If you have a project, the worst thing you could possibly do is have him sit on the bench, especially when the starting quarterback is a bridge player, is essentially a career backup. That is the worst thing you could possibly do. Because how is he learning to win when your quarterback on the starting roster can't win games? Yes, I understand that the offensive line may be atrocious, but it's the Patriots' starting offensive line. So no matter what you do, unless you hit on a bunch of offensive linemen in this upcoming draft, for then Drake May to become the starter in 2025, what's going to happen? Next year, you can't give the same excuse. You can't say the offensive line is bad and we don't want Drake May to get hurt behind a bad offensive line, so we're going to sit him. You can't give the excuse again. He already sat 1 year behind Jacoby Brissett. I think there is a shot that Drake May does get in there, but this offensive line is not going to improve. Absolutely not. The offensive line is filled with old David Andrews, Sidney So, who was one of the worst guards last year, Cole Strange, who is not that good, and then Chukwuma Okorafor from the Steelers, who is one of the lowest graded offensive tackles in the NFL. And then obviously you have Micah Wenu, who is clearly the best offensive lineman the Patriots have after Trent Brown left. So I think no matter what, I'm not accepting the excuse of a bad offensive line. The Patriots have had a bad offensive line since 2021, or rather 22. 2021, they had a top-tier offensive line, which then helped Mac Jones. What also does not help a young quarterback is a lack of talent. Kendrick Bourne's going to be out the first 4 weeks for the PUP list. Demario Douglas is a 5'8" slot receiver, and Jalen Polk actually seems promising. But besides that, you have KJ Osborne, a career wide receiver 3 on the Vikings, Tyquan Thornton, who is simply a guy who runs go routes and drops the go routes, and then Javon Baker, who had a lot of untimely drops for the New England Patriots. And not only that, congratulations to Kayshon Boutte getting out of Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick's doghouse. He made the 53-man roster. Congratulations. He also had a drop problem, but also made a couple very, very nice catches. So how did the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots do against starters in the preseason? Because normally that first drive or two, every team has a couple starters out there defensively, if not all of their starters. 35.7% completion percentage, 36 yards, 2.6 yards an attempt, no touchdowns, 1 pick. That's the New England Patriots starting quarterback. He has played in the Patriots system. How's it doing? My analysis on the numbers is not good. So yes, the Patriots are going to be bad, and there's a reason why this team is favored in 0 games this season. One of, I think, only 2 teams to be favored in not a single game. I think the other team's the Carolina Panthers. They actually have the lowest over-under win total in the NFL at, this is pitiful, 4.5. That's the New England Patriots win total right now. Estimated win total, over-under. So I'm saying this is a bad decision. You can't give me an excuse of a bad offensive line. A lot of bad teams have bad offensive lines. The Commanders, Sam Howell got sacked 65 times. Did they revolutionize their offense? Are they letting Marcus Mariota start over Jaden Daniels? No. He's out there, and he is smaller, weighs less than Drake May at 6'4". I think he's 220, I believe. Maybe even bigger than that. If the Commanders are not worried about their terrible offensive line and lack of weapons, although Terry McLaurin is a very, very good wide receiver, What are the Patriots doing then?
Well, I think that the Commanders, you could look at Sam Howell getting sacked over 60 times, and he's not with them anymore.
Well, that's because he went to the Seattle Seahawks. They drafted Daniels.
They got rid of him, and earlier in the season, they were saying, wow, he could be the franchise quarterback. And then
I don't know how many people were saying that about
No, they were saying that earlier in the season last year.
Well, because he was leading the league in receiving yards and stuff. Right.
Passing yards.
Or passing yards, excuse me. But still, though.
And then he got pummeled. He kept getting pummeled, and suddenly he's on the bench, and Jacoby Brissett was in there. So,
which, by the way, that was the reason why they didn't start Brissett at the end of the year was because they were fighting with the Patriots to get that second overall pick. Yeah. So obviously, they weren't going to start Jacoby Brissett, who actually looked much better than Howell.
Well, Mayo says what's good for the team today may not be good for the team weeks down the road. Challenges, you want to win every game now, but also try to build something special in New England for the future. Given the offensive line is so questionable, if May was consistently managing pressure and can't run the full playbook, his in-game reps might not be as valuable. So I think this approach is the right one. They can learn about the strengths and weaknesses of the offense, who will be the best 5 on the offensive line, and then maybe Drake May comes in games 6 or 7.
Well, so Drake May handling pressure live reps in the preseason. He was pressured on 34% of his dropbacks. Amongst all Patriot quarterbacks, had the highest yards per attempt, and completion percentage.
He did play well. He did make something out of what looked like nothing quite a few times there. So that's a plus. But
the big thing that everyone was looking at, because obviously we talked about that first pad of practice where he completed 2 passes in 2 11-on-11 drills. It was, well, let's see how he improves over the course of time. And we saw that first preseason game. He played one singular drive. And then as we looked at him, we saw there could be something here. He's making plays. He had a beautiful bootleg out to the left, fire it to KJ Osborne. It's called back for a penalty. Is that a sign of things to come for this offensive line? I think so. And I think Okorafor is going to be a massive recipient of several penalties.
Yeah, I can't understand why the Patriots didn't upgrade their offensive line a little bit more. It
they
was
had
horrible
the most
last
cap
year.
space in the NFL. They let their best offensive lineman, Trent Brown, go. They still have probably the oldest center in the NFL. I might be wrong about that, but David Andrews is definitely getting up there in age. And they were able to re-sign Mike Owenu, who right now is their clearly best offensive lineman. Now, here's the question.
Well, Cole Strange was hurt last year quite a bit, so maybe he is a good offensive lineman. Okay. City So was a rookie last year, and he did play a lot of games near the end there, so maybe he'll do better as well.
Let me ask you, can you find that quote about Gerard Mayo talk about Brissett and this season, about maybe not playing every season or every game this season? Is there something about him maybe, weeks down the line, he may not be the starter, something like that. So,
he said,
if you can find the quote.
You want to win every game now, but also try to build something special, he said.
Yeah.
He said that the team, what's good for the team today may not be good for the team weeks down the line.
Okay,
so I think they're hinting that you're going to see Drake May, and you're going to see Drake May because they could be they could not win a game. If they've lost 6 or 7 games in a row, what are they going to do? They got to put fans in the stadium. They got to do something that's exciting. They're going to bring in Drake May.
Well, that was my question. When do they get their first win?
When do they get their first win?
Week 7, maybe?
Let's see. Week 7
Week
is
9.
The Jaguars. I don't think they're going to beat the Jaguars. I think maybe week 9 is probably their best chance.
You want me to give you their best point spread chance? So the closest point spread margin of victory for the New England Patriots. You want to find out what it is? Which I'm a little bit surprised by that it is this low.
What is it?
Week 17. They're plus 2.5 underdogs. Plus 2.5.
Against the Chargers? That surprised me. I think the Chargers will be fighting for a playoff spot.
Plus 2.5. The Patriots are not favored in a single game, and somehow Week 17 is the best shot, at least according to Vegas.
Yeah.
With the closest margin of victory.
Week 17 is a long way off.
I fully understand that, and I expect the Chargers to be much better because Brandon Staley isn't their head coach. So this is concerning. For me, this is very concerning because, yes, Gerard Mayo always said that Jacoby Brissett is the starter, but we have eyes, and Gerard Mayo actually said it. He said what we saw. Drake May outplayed Jacoby Brissett. Normally, the quarterback who performs the best is the rightful recipient of that starting role. Mac Jones did it. Every quarterback does it. Russell Wilson, I guess,
he did. He
beat
did
out
do
Justin
it.
Fields.
No, but I mean,
Mike
when
Tomlin
he was a
says
rookie,
he's the starter.
no, but when he's a rookie, he won the starting job.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Back in what, 2012,
Quite a long time ago,
13,
yeah.
something like that. But yeah, no. Drake May, from Gerard Mayo's mouth, said that he outplayed Jacoby Brissett, and somehow Brissett is still the starter. Are they tanking for? By the way, this wide receiver class, if they are looking at a wide receiver or even offensive line class, is not as deep as it was this season. It's just simply not. Could offensive linemen, sprout this college season? Maybe. But you need to hit on several draft picks in a row in order to justify not playing the quarterback who outperformed the guy you named the starter. You need to hit on draft picks.
Well,
if your reasoning is,
Gerard Mayo,
we don't want to ruin Drake May because of our poor offensive line and lack of weapons.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Gerard Mayo's a rookie head coach too. Maybe he's made a mistake. We'll wait and see.
I think so.
My guess is Drake May is going to be out there for quite a bit of the season. You wait and see because
let me ask
they're going to have such a terrible record.
Well,
they're going to have to do something to gain a little excitement. Why not put him in there?
If I had to put you on the spot, what week does Drake May get announced the starter?
I would say that he will be the starter for maybe the Jaguars game.
So week 7.
Maybe. I don't know. I think they prefer to put him in week 9, right? Yeah. Because that would be probably the weakest team. Then he could play the Titans and the Bears, which I don't think they're going to be that great this year either. But then he would be head-to-head against Caleb Williams. That would be interesting for the fans as well. So it's going to be in that neighborhood, somewhere between 7 and 9. I think he'll be named the starter.
If this is an indicator of what's to come, week 13, that's my bet. If this is an indicator of what's to come, week 13.
Wow.
He's going to give Jacoby Brissett every opportunity.
You think if they're 0-9 or 0-8, they wouldn't start Drake May against one of the other weakest teams in the NFL? I mean, they have a terribly hard schedule.
Gerard Mayo, they have the second hardest schedule in the NFL. Gerard Mayo said that Drake May outperformed Jacoby Brissett and named Jacoby Brissett the starter. I think Brissett we need to play so poorly, like Zach Wilson style poorly. So if he's trying to throw away a football, he throws it into the arms of a safety or a cornerback. I would say that's when it's like not looking good. And by the way, already did that. Already has an interception in the preseason, which is, I believe, the only interception a Patriots quarterback had. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I'm just going to quickly check myself. He's the only quarterback the Patriots had this preseason who threw an interception.
Yeah.
Drake May and Joe Milton were the only two that had a touchdown. I think this is a bad decision. I know I was harsh on Drake May. I think this is a bad decision.
We will see.
He looked better.
I can't wait for the game. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no. This next Sunday, September 8th. Yeah, right there in Lower Third, 1 p.m. on CBS. Patriots at Bengals. Bengals favored by 9 points. All right, coming up, Mike Tomlin announces the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who is it? We'll talk about that, as well as 2024, 2025 post-preseason and before Week 1 NFC standings predictions. We'll also bring you that right after this break.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It is great to have you in today on a Friday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So Mike Tomlin announced the Pittsburgh Steelers starter for the 2024-2025 NFL season. Take a listen to his comment on announcing the starting quarterback of the Steelers.
I met with both quarterbacks here just a few minutes ago after practice, and I informed them that Russ is QB1 going into week 1. It was a difficult decision, but not difficult in a negative way, to be quite honest with you. It was difficult in a positive way. The decision was difficult because of what they're capable of doing. The decision was difficult because of how they have conducted themselves, as opposed to the things that they fall short in terms of capabilities or negative conduct.
So I would like to know, overall, are you surprised that Russell Wilson was able to beat out Justin Fields in the Pittsburgh quarterback competition?
I'm not that surprised. I think when the when you look at their play, both of them, it wasn't that much different from one another. Although Fields played quite a bit, played more than Russell Wilson did. When it's close, I think they're going to go with the experienced guy, and that's what they decided to do. And Tomlin said the decision was difficult because of how they conducted themselves. You can tell the Steelers don't feel great about the Russell Wilson thing, though. I think that they named him basically because they said when he first came in he was going to be the starter, and they want to follow through with that. He's named the week 1 starter after a month of speculation. I mean, Fields made his case in training camp, and it was a strong case, I think. But the Steelers opted for more experienced Wilson, but maybe not for every play. It's interesting. Tomlin continues to send mixed messages about when he's discussing the quarterbacks. Wilson has been number 1 since signing. So why are they promoting Fields so much? I don't understand that. Consistent praise for Fields from Tomlin. My friend, listen to this, what he said on Wednesday. My friend Raheem Morris better be ready for a Justin Field package. There is too much talent to be sitting around watching. Most of the backup quarterbacks just sit around and watch. Those who are too talented for that are starting games and playing football. What message does that send to Russell Wilson? Not much of it. There's not much distinction between the two, as I said in the preseason. So Pittsburgh went with their original pick. It was
the pole
Russell
position
Wilson.
they gave it to him immediately. The pole position.
Wilson has a decade of experience on Fields, and he has a Super Bowl win. But what's that say about his current ability? I mean, he played the last couple of years very spotty. When 2 equal options are out there, you generally lean to the guy with experience. Yep, the Fields hype persists, which can't make Wilson feel good about his situation. I think the Steelers maybe need a little more tact when they're talking about Russ, like he is the starter, not because you feel obligated to start him. The Steelers aren't betting on the upside. They are rolling with the more ready option, I think. And I think hyping Fields is a direct shot at Wilson. Tomlin may not want Wilson to feel secure in the role. Maybe it'll push him harder and he'll perform better, or maybe he presses too hard, starts throwing a bunch of interceptions, fumbles the ball, and gets sacked. I don't think it's fair to Fields that he couldn't beat out a 35-year-old who was benched in favor of Jared Stidham.
Jared
Stidham. The Steelers are clearly trying to set up Fields for the midseason ascension. That's what I think's happening here.
Mid-season ascension?
Yeah, that he will start.
Have they looked at their own schedule? Let's go to the mid-season ascension, shall we? Oh, my Lord. Yeah, bye week, then Commanders, easy, and then hell opens up. Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. Mid-season ascension. You're telling me that Justin Fields is going to go in around week 10, week 9, maybe even week 8, and a quarterback who performs worse in the fourth quarter when he's winning than losing is going to ascend against the Baltimore Ravens defense, against the previous number one defense in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns.
I would say unless...
Against the Bengals with a projected healthy Joe Burrow.
I'd say...
Eagles on a bounce back, and then the Chiefs who just won the Super Bowl.
I would say that unless Russell Wilson's got a winning record going into a Week 10...
Which is possible. It's possible.
It's possible, but if it better be, right? When we look at the schedule to start, they should be very competitive against Atlanta.
They're currently underdogs by a field goal.
Okay, but they should be competitive, as I said.
Yeah.
Okay, a field goal is being very competitive. Broncos, they should win that game. The Chargers early with a new coach, and maybe they don't have the wide receiver talent that they've had in the past. So maybe there's a possible win there. The Colts, they ought to win that game. Dallas are going to lose that one. The Raiders, they should win that one. The Jets, they'll probably lose that one. The Giants, they should win. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 wins. If they have, maybe 6 wins. If they have 6 wins going into Week 10, then I think Russ will still be out there.
Do you want to know where they're favorites?
If they have a losing record by Week 10, I think Justin Fields will be in there.
Do you want to know where the Vegas is saying that they're favorites in the game? Week 2 against at Broncos. Week 3 against the Chargers. They're even against the Raiders in Week 6. They're -1 point favorites against the Commanders in Week 10. And they're not a favorite at any other point in the season.
They're not the favorite against the Colts?
No. They are the Colts. They are +1.5 point underdogs against the Indianapolis Colts.
The Giants are favored.
The Giants, correct. And also that -4.5 point favorites.
Yeah.
The Jets, though, 1 point underdogs. Yeah. So, midseason ascension, I don't really see it. So, this is interesting. I also think that this might have been the wrong decision. I just talked about Drake May over Jacoby Brissett, which I think would have been the better decision. But now they're going with Russell Wilson. What have we seen the past 2 years with Russ? We saw let Russ cook to Broncos country, let's die. Because that's exactly what happened. He signed a 5-year, $242 million contract with the Denver Broncos without playing a single snap. I don't think that was a very good deal for the Denver Broncos, paying him on average $48.5 million per year to be one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, and also to dink and dunk his way to nothing. A bad record, a stain on his reputation as a Super Bowl winning quarterback on pace to make it to the National Football Hall of Fame. I've said this before on the show. Only quarterback the past 2 years to have double digits in checkdown percentage. Mahomes literally changed his offense without Tyreek Hill and dinking and dunking. He's led the league in yards after the catch for the past 2 seasons, I believe. But apparently he's not dinking and dunking as much as Russell Wilson is. In 2023, this is the shocking part. So last year, Pittsburgh had the 31st best pass blocking offensive line, so the second worst in the league. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos had the 7th best in the NFL. And think about this. With the 7th best offensive line in the NFL, Russell Wilson he gave up. So QB responsible pressures. Nearly 1/4 of all of his pressures came from him creating the pressure behind the 7th best offensive line. That's holding onto the ball for way too long. That's padding it. That's not moving. That's a lack of pocket awareness. By the way, Justin Fields was 9th, 17.6%. Russell Wilson was 24.3%. He was 20th in average depth of target. And Russell, and by the way, in this preseason, it just really shone a massive light on this. Yards per attempt, ready for this. Justin Fields, 7.4. Russell Wilson, 6.1. And we talked about it. In that last preseason game, his average depth of target from behind the line of scrimmage and short passes 0 to 9 yards was in the negative, meaning he was throwing it backwards more than forwards. That's a little bit of an issue. So you open up with that schedule, and let's bring it up one more time. You open with this schedule, and yes, you're underdogs against Atlanta. You're favored against Denver and LA, although I think LA is going to be much better because you have a legitimate coach who, for some reason, I assume he'll do his job. Instead of Brandon Staley, who was a defensive coach, and their defense was the worst in the NFL. The worst defense for 4 straight years. Justin Herbert's defense gave up the most yards and points. He has a negative net point differential between points scored and points given up. How is that supposed to help Justin Herbert succeed? Yes, he hasn't won a playoff game. I wonder why. It's kind of hard to win a playoff game or be massively successful when your defense can't stop anybody. By the way, Justin Herbert put up the most points to start a career for the first 3 years. And he has the most yards first 4 years of somebody's career. His defense just let him down. But this is a relatively easy schedule to start with. He's familiar with the Broncos. He was just on the Broncos. He's familiar with the Chargers. He was just in their own division. The Colts he played. Dallas he's played over his career. Jets were in his conference. Raiders were in his division as well. Played him twice a year. So I guess it's because he's comfortable, because he's familiar with these teams. I can't see how a very conservative quarterback can come in and succeed in an offense which is not his forte.
Who do you think is the more accurate passer?
More accurate passer? That's Russell Wilson.
And who is the better runner?
Justin Fields.
Okay. So
offensive coordinator is Arthur Smith, who likes to run the football.
That's right.
Russell Wilson doesn't run it anymore.
Well, what happens if Fields gets in there mid-season and he bombs?
He will, because if he goes in mid-season, look who he's up against. It
might not be him that bombs. It could be the rest of the team. I mean, he might play okay.
I think it's just going to be a complete tire fire halfway through the year.
I mean, the defense might not be able to stop these teams, but the
defense is always surprisingly
defense should be good.
Yeah. Now, they signed Quez Watkins today, but outside of that, the ability to not get Brandon Aiyuk is a massive shot because you have George Pickens and who? Let's see. Right now, Van Jefferson. Low risk, low reward. Really not much you could do. He was a free agent signing. Then you got third-year player Calvin Austin. 17 career catches in 3 years. You also have Roman Wilson, who missed all of the preseason due to an injury, who I actually like from Michigan. Then you got Scotty Miller, former Buccaneer. Doesn't get really much of a role anymore. And then Corell Patterson, who is a running back, return, but he's a wide receiver as well.
I think he's a good player to have, personally. I like Cordell Patterson.
Well, he's had his moments over the course of his
career. He
played
well when he was with the Patriots. They should have hung on to him.
But I think the inability to acquire Brandon Aiyuk is going to rear its ugly head this season because it'll be the exact same thing that Aiyuk or maybe on the Patriots would do. They're going to they're going to put all their attention towards the biggest asset on your team, the one that could cause them the most problems, which if you have Aiyuk and Pickens and Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, maybe there's a chance for you to not be able to double Pickens or double Aiyuk. But now you could double Pickens and just worry about the run game if Najee Harris is going to run it because that's what Arthur Smith will bring, a more run-style play-action offense. Russell Wilson, by the way, has not run play action in several years. That was not part of Sean Payton's scheme. Nathaniel Hackett, do we even call him a head coach anymore? We don't. He's an offensive coordinator for the New York Jets, who the Jets don't even want anymore. He's there because of Aaron Rodgers. So I think it's unfortunate that's what happened with Russ's career, but he's not helping himself. He's still talking about winning 2 Super Bowls. He said the exact same thing with Denver. He wants to win 2 in 5 years. We're on year 3. He's won 0.
Hasn't come close.
And really, what this was
as they made the playoffs.
What this was, and maybe Mike Tomlin is thinking about this, maybe not. Who gives me the least chance to break my 500 and above streak? Who gives me the highest opportunity to keep it alive? Because I'm telling you, people don't agree with me, because we've talked about this before. The Steelers are going to be horrible. There is no way Russell Wilson, who has had a massive decline in his career, and Justin Fields, who we've seen for 3 years, look terrible on a Bears team. How are they going to succeed against the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Browns, the Jets?
I think Justin Fields...
Read it one more time.
I think Justin Fields has a chance to
Cowboys, Chargers.
I think he has a chance to be successful in the Steelers offense. I think it's too bad that he is not getting the nod to start now with the easier games and the beginning of the season that he could really get going on and get used to the offense. They're going to bring him in later on when it's, as you pointed out, the chances are they could just go over for the second half of the season. So I think actually, and Tomlin made a mistake. I think he should have picked Fields.
Yes, the defense, always. The team could look terrible. You could have Kenny Pickett at quarterback or Mitch Trubisky. The defense, always surprisingly good. And the acquisition of Patrick Queen, I think, will definitely help out massively. But
I think Cordell Patterson, they should give him some chances, some touches.
I would not just send all your money into the Cordell Patterson
I wouldn't all
stock.
of it, but I would give him some touches because he's a good football player.
I'm sure they'll give him a couple touches here and there. But if we're talking about a guy who
he
had
a nice run for a touchdown in the preseason game.
6.1 yards an attempt. There is not a guy within 1.3 yards of you, and it's Justin Fields.
And he had a touchdown.
He played it super conservative. Average depth of target, 5.8 yards. That's Daniel Jones. That's Mac Jones. That's not good. That's not winning you games.
Yeah, well,
it'll
be fun to watch. Again, I can't wait for the season to start.
It's going to be very, very fun. All right, now it is time. I know a lot of people are anticipating this. The NFC predictions. We did the AFC on Tuesday, so if you want, after the stream, go look at the AFC picks. I'm sure I'll upload it as a clip sometime. Next Tuesday, massive show. Playoff and Super Bowl picks, and we also have a special guest giving his playoff and Super Bowl picks as well. So that's a little teaser there. So let's begin. As always, I will start us off with the NFC. Let's go with the NFC East. This is my NFC East division breakdown. Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants. So I do think that the pattern will repeat again of having not having the same division winner back-to-back years. Philly, they made some pretty big acquisitions in the offseason. Added Bryce Huff, Saquon, Devin White, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, drafted Cooper DeJean, and also got Quinion Mitchell, which, by the way, getting two, high second round or middle to the end of the first round cornerbacks in the same draft, that's very impressive to do. They're trying to fix the Darius Slay and James Bradbury complete mishap, which broke down that defense last year. It was not good towards the end of the year, that Philadelphia secondary. They're trying to reinforce that with Cooper DeJean and also Quinion Mitchell. This team's going to be good. Now, yes, you lost Jason Kelsey off the center for the Philadelphia Eagles, but Cam Jurgens is definitely a pretty decent replacement to replace Jason Kelsey. Your offensive line, though, besides Kelsey, is still there. I think a lot of people would say that Saquon is an upgrade over DeAndre Swift. But think about this. Dallas Goedert's there. A.J. Brown's there. You also have, Devontae Smith. You have a structured offense that looks very good. Now, it's all about coaching. It's all about coaching. Shane Steichen did wonders for Herbert and wonders for Hurts. When he left, things went to hell. Things looked ugly. The last 6 or 7 games, 1 win and an ugly loss in the playoffs to Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You made Baker Mayfield look like a guy who should be making $45 million a year. That's just the case. The Cowboys. Let's go to the Cowboys now. Their offseason, snooze fest. Ezekiel Elliott. That's basically the biggest addition that you made. And also, you did sign Dalvin Cook, but Dalvin Cook hasn't been good in like 2-3 years. Just ask the Jets how he performed. And also ask the Ravens as well. He had a couple rushes with the Ravens. So, but the good thing is you got the CD extension done. No more holdout. But next, it's all to Dak and Micah. And Dak had actually an interesting quote recently about how he no longer listens to Jerry Jones on during his media interviews because there's not really much there. He's not putting a lot of weight into it. Taking a shot at your owner, as well as thinking about the future. Because he's already said, I look at the previous quarterbacks and see that they don't stay on the same team for their entire careers. Dak's probably going to be gone unless they absolutely break the bank with him next offseason. But also Micah needs to get paid. He's talking about a contract as well. Running back room is ranked dead last in the NFL. I wonder why. It's Dalvin Cook and Ezekiel Elliott. Not exactly a great 1-2 punch combo. And also, they lost one of their best offensive linemen, Tyron Smith, to the New York Jets. So we'll see how Dak looks. And also, we have to remember that Dak, yes, he did have a good season last year, turnover-wise, but he's still relatively turnover-prone. He played 12 games 2 years ago and led the league in interceptions. How does one do that? But I expect the Cowboys to still win 12 games. I think it'll be neck and neck with the Eagles. I do think they are going to win 12 games. I already bet the over of, I think it's 10.5 or 9.5 wins, which, by the way, bet the Cowboys winning more than 9.5 games 100%. They've won 12 games the past 3 years. Washington Commanders, let's go with that one, over the New York Jets. Offensive line could and probably will be a problem for a very small, structured, small stature quarterback like Jaden Daniels. He'll be running around a lot. But they did draft Jaden Daniels, promising rookie, one of the best rookies, Heisman winner his last year at college. You did lose Jahan Dotson, who was your wide receiver too, but instead replaced it with Noah Brown, who did have a couple very nice games with the Texans when Tank Dell went down and Collins was dealing with a little bit of an injury. You got Noah Brown, who had a couple 100-plus yard games with the Houston Texans. But they rank in the bottom 10 in basically every position. Every single position the Commanders are just god-awful in. But there is one team that when the positions that matter the most is surprisingly and somehow worse than the Washington Commanders, and that is the New York Football Giants, who Daniel Jones is their starting quarterback, who they overpaid for. I mean, today's market you say not really, but just based on performance, and you look at the contracts around him, how he performs compared to the other quarterbacks around that contract structure, yeah, I would say it's pretty bad. But he's already in midseason form. We already saw 2 bad interceptions in the preseason, which didn't look that great. But you did draft Malik Neighbors, who is arguably and I wouldn't even say arguably, he is the best wide receiver Daniel Jones has ever had since coming into the league. But their offensive line is a complete experiment. We saw Evan Neal get an opportunity, and he literally sidestepped, and it's like a doorman holding the door open for a defender to run by and take the head off the quarterback. So somehow he's still on the team. But you got Jermaine Illuminor, you got Greg Van Roten from the Raiders, you also got John Runyon from the Green Bay Packers. John Michael Schmitz, I believe his name is. He was the lowest graded center in the NFL. That needs to improve. Andrew Thomas, though, was one of the best offensive linemen last year, offensive tackles in the league last year. But think about this. Their defense, right? People are raving about how it's going to be Dexter Lawrence. It's also going to be Brian Burns. Yeah, what about the secondary? It's filled with young guys, rookies, and they're also ranked dead last because they're unproven. We haven't seen a lot of these guys. You have a brand new safety. You lost Xavier McKinney, who is hands down your best safety, your best defensive back. You also got Banks as well. Drafted him a couple of years ago, or maybe last year, excuse me, if I got that wrong, recently. But you have a brand new guy in Newbin who's a brand new safety. We don't know what he looks like. Yes, he could be promising, and you could read a scouting report that looks good. I read a scouting report on a couple guys. I'm getting hate for it reading it, because apparently I'm wrong. But regardless, I think ultimately it comes down to what do you have around you. Daniel Jones has the 31st best running back room in the NFL. Saquon was the biggest part of their explosive offense, and I'm not even calling it an explosive offense, was the best part of their offense. That great year where Dan Jones had a lot of success, yeah, he was the main cause of that. Look at the rushing numbers when Saquon rushes for, I think, 50 or more yards compared to when he doesn't. Daniel Jones is a completely different quarterback. The numbers don't lie. They simply don't. So that's my NFC East. Let's go over to the NFC North. I got the Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, Bears, and Vikings. And by the way, it's not a lot changing here. There really isn't. So let's take a look at each of these teams. I think, really, the Lions, I'm going to give a little hint here. They're going to be very good. This is a revenge year for Dan Take the Gamble Campbell. That's exactly what's going to happen. They are out to avenge themselves for what happened in the playoff debacle in the championship game against the 49ers, where their defense completely plummeted off the face of the earth after crushing the 49ers in that first half. Then Dan Gamble, as you like to reference always, great name by the way, decided to take a couple unnecessary gambles when they didn't have to, which ultimately led to their demise in the championship game. So I do think the Lions are going to be out here. They're going to be out for blood. They're going to be sharks in the water. They're going to be feasting on teams. They're going out to make it back to the NFC Championship game and potentially make the first Super Bowl in their franchise's history in the Super Bowl era. But let's go to the next one. Green Bay Packers, who were the youngest team last year. They got an upgrade at running back because I do think Josh Jacobs is an upgrade over Aaron Jones. You unfortunately lost A.J. Dillon for the season, though, which is quite unfortunate, but I'm pretty sure they're probably going to get a backup running back, a viable backup running back. Christian Watson is back healthy. He missed about half the year last year. Romeo Doubs is tearing it up at practice, as well as Jaden Reed. Think about last year. He was one of the fastest guys out on the field for the Packers. Offensive line could be a question mark without David Bakhtiari, but the biggest question mark that they have going into the season is their defense. And what did they do for it in the offseason? Signed Xavier McKinney to a nice, healthy contract. They do have a 7-game stretch where 5 of the 7 games are top-tier teams. Houston, Detroit twice, San Francisco, Miami. So Jordan Love will be tested, but I'm not fearing really. Because during the back half of the season where Jordan Love was really tearing it up, he was one of, if not the best quarterback under pressure. So if the offensive line isn't that great, Jordan Love has already proven that he can handle that pressure. Let's go to Chicago now. Caleb Williams. What the Bears did for Williams is what other teams should be looking at when you're drafting a rookie, or where you think you're going to be drafting a rookie within the next couple of years. Get your team, surround your up-and-coming quarterback with a bunch of talent. And who do the Bears have? You have DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert, who also had a couple very nice moments last year. You have Keenan Allen. You have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet. Offensive line, I think, is still a question mark. They're currently ranked 21st, but they're very young. They're growing. They're finding pieces to fit into that offensive line. The big upside for Caleb Williams, though, to lead to potentially a lot of success for him. By the way, they're favored in 10 games this season. They have the 3rd easiest schedule in the NFL. How can you ask for anything more perfect for a rookie quarterback who is supposedly the next Patrick Mahomes. You built up your team very, very well, and you have one of the best rookie quarterbacks that apparently we've seen in a very, very long time. And finally, Minnesota. Sam Darnold is your starting quarterback. That's not great. You lost Danielle Hunter. You lost Davenport. You lost Wanham. Your front seven's ranked 25th. Yes, I know you did draft Dallas Turner, but still, your front seven is ranked 25th. Your running back room, 21st, and that's with Aaron Jones. So I don't think that he'll get a lot of help. He'll need to really rely on TJ Hawkinson, who won't be there until maybe Christmas. You have Justin Jefferson, though. You do have Jordan Addison. They have a couple very nice pieces, but their defense has historically been their Achilles heel when it comes to season success. And also, it kind of sucks for Sam Darnold trying to revive his career. They have the 5th hardest schedule in the NFL this season. Not exactly set up for a great amount of success. All right, let's go over to the NFC South. I got Falcons, Buccaneers, Saints, Panthers. Again, no changes. And honestly, let's bring up both divisions because it's the exact same as my preseason predictions. The Falcons, they're the best team in the division, absolutely. I think the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, I don't think he'll exactly repeat what he did last year, but it'll be good enough. The Saints just lost Michael Thomas for game 1, and I think Derek Carr, I was wrong about Derek Carr. He was pretty good with he was okay with the Las Vegas Raiders, but on the Saints, it's like, the hell are you doing? I think it could be time for a head coaching change. And the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales is reworking Bryce Young. How good will he be? I'm not sure. I'm not putting you have him as the biggest bounce quarterback in the NFL for this upcoming season, but I don't think he's going to be all that great. So that's my NFC South. And finally, the NFC West, 49ers, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals. I don't think there's a lot of things to be said about this. Cardinals are probably is hands down the worst team in that division. Kyler Murray didn't have a great time coming back from an injury, but he was coming back from an ACL injury, so who knows what he'll be with Marvin Harrison now. We'll have to wait and see. The Seahawks lost a couple big pieces. Lost the league leader in tackles in Bobby Wagner. Their secondary, even with Reek Woolen and even with Devin Witherspoon, still a bottom 10 defensive back group in the NFL. Their front seven is pretty good. Is absolutely pretty good. Running back room, one of the best. K9, very, very good running back. Wide receiver group, pretty good. Offensive line, needs improvement. Tight ends, needs improvement. Quarterback, well, Geno kind of fell off the face of the earth. He had a bit of a down year from 2 years ago where I believe he won comeback player of the year and had like nearly 70% completion percentage and made it to the playoffs and actually did decently well in the first half against the 49ers and ultimately ended up losing. The Rams at number 2 in the NFC West. Cooper Kupp's healthy. Puka Nacua is healthy. Matthew Stafford's healthy. Sean McVay, still one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. They're trying to rebuild their defense. I think it's going to be an interesting year for the Los Angeles Rams. The loss of Aaron Donald obviously cannot be overstated here. One of, people are arguing, the best defensive player in NFL history. Comparing him to, I'm calling him the defensive god of Lawrence Taylor. Comparing those two to make Aaron Donald the best defensive player in NFL history. That's an argument for a different time if we ever have that argument. But I think the defense will not, I wouldn't say just fall off the face of the earth, but not be as good as they were in previous years, obviously with the loss of Aaron Donald, although some of the draft picks could ramp it. You may be able to get quantity to get closer to equal the quality of Aaron Donald. And finally, 49ers, deepest team in the NFL, just extended, I should say, Brandon Aiyuk. Brock Purdy's on an absolute tear. He's trying to get revenge for losing to Lamar Jackson and killing his MVP odds. Christian McCaffrey's still there on a 2-year extension. Trent Williams needs to get back in the building, though. That's my biggest thing. If you're not signing Trent Williams, the numbers do not lie. Brock Purdy is not a great quarterback without Trent Williams. But that's my NFC. NFC East, Eagles, Cowboys, Commanders, Giants. NFC North, Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings. NFC South, Falcons, Bucks, Saints, Panthers. And finally wrap up, NFC West, 49ers, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals. Took a little while, but there it is.
Yeah. You know what? My picks aren't going to be all that different.
You have a lot of changes from your preseason prediction, though. So let's begin with your NFC standings post-preseason and pre-week 1.
Okay.
NFC East.
NFC East, I got the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Commanders. The Eagles, I think, are going to be a lot better this year down the stretch. They started out great last year. I think, they 10-0 or 10-1, something like that to start the season. And then they kind of fell apart, mostly because of their defense. The defense gave up 428 points last year I think it'll be a lot better than that this year. They picked up Saquon Barkley, who I think is going to have a great season. Jalen Hurts will be healthy. Apparently his relationship with the head coach is a little better now. They did have some issues last year. So I think the Eagles have the talent, and also on strength of schedule, their opponents overall ranked 21st, 21st in strength of schedule, whereas the Cowboys, they're number 12, so it's going to be a lot harder for them. Although their defense is great last year, only gave up 315 points, scored 509. That was the best in the NFL. But I think that they're going to be suffering at running back. They're rated one of the lowest. I think although they signed CeeDee Lamb, behind him, it's not so great. Brandon Cooks is going to have a really good season. He's getting a little older there. Behind him, they really don't seem to have much of anything. So I like the Eagles to win the division this year. I do think the Cowboys will win 11 or 12 games. I have them down, I think 12 is what I initially said, mainly on the strength of their defense and the fact that Dak Prescott's going to be playing for a contract. And they've got CeeDee Lamb back in the fold now. So I think they'll look a lot like they did last year, except their running game was not good last year with Tony Pollard. And now it's back to Zeke. So we'll see. Looking down further, looking at the Giants and the Commanders, I flip with you there. I think the Giants will find a way to beat out the Commanders. Last year, the Commanders gave up 518 points on defense. And even though the Giants' strength of opponents is one of the highest at number 6, Washington isn't all that far behind. They're at 16. I just don't think their offensive line is going to be weak. They got the rookie quarterback in there. They don't have anybody at wide receiver but behind McLaurin. They're going to be able to double him. I think and the Giants' defense wins games a lot of the time, and their defense was good last year, and it's going to be even better this year, I think. Even though you say the secondary is lousy, the quarterback's going to be under pressure a lot from that front floor. So I think that will hide some of the weaknesses in the safeties and the cornerbacks. So I've got the Giants in 3rd and the Washington in 4th there.
They are ranked dead last in secondary, by the way, the Giants.
Yeah.
Dead last.
How about their defensive line, huh?
I believe that's
ranked one of the best.
I think it's number 12. Maybe it's higher than that. I haven't looked at the rings recently.
Okay, moving on to the NFC North. This is a hard one for me.
The shocker, though, if people have following recent history, number 3 is stunning for people.
Yeah.
Jaws are on the floor.
Well, it has a lot to do with J.J. McCarthy being out for the season, and now Darnold being the quarterback for the whole season. They see that they released Hall.
Yeah.
They released him. They picked up somebody. Who did they pick up?
I could check for a second. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. The Lions, I think they're going to win the division, although I had a very hard time with this one. The only reason I give them the nod over the Packers is strength of schedule, where the Lions is 11 and the Packers is 4. The Packers are going to have a tough season that way. The Lions have got to improve their defense. 395 points they gave up last year. The Packers 350. So I think it's going to be, nip and tuck there between the Lions and the Packers. I think they split during the season, but I think Green Bay winds up with one more. I'm sorry, the Lions wind up with 1 or 2 more wins just because their schedule's not as tough as the Packers. The Vikings and the Bears, I give the Bears the nod after watching Caleb Williams in the preseason and that offense. I think they've got quite a bit of talent there, more than I thought there would be there, and I think Caleb Williams will perform reasonably well. I just think the Vikings, their quarterback situation's weak with Darnold in there as the starter, and nobody really behind him. They do have Justin Jefferson. Their defense is middle of the pack. Gave up 362 points last year, but I think they're going to have it's going to be a long season without strength at quarterback. They really show that they miss Kirk Cousins a lot.
By the way, Brent Ripien,
yeah.
So wait, hold on. I want to put you on the spot here. Viral video. You already know what I'm talking about. 5-12 2. What's your new record?
I think they could probably win 6 or 7.
By
But I just don't think the Vikings are going to win many games. That's not that the
so
Bears are going to win.
It very well could be 5 and 12
Bears-
still. You just think the Vikings could be 4 and 13.
They better be a little better than that. But the Bears are going to be. I think they could maybe win 7. Maybe they'll win 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're favored in 10.
Yeah. Okay. The NFC South.
No changes here from last
Interestingly, the strength of schedule here is very weak for all of them because they play each other. I think that's the main reason, right? They play each other twice. So here, this is a tough one for me as well. I wound up going with Atlanta principally because of Kirk Cousins. But the Atlanta's got to improve their defense. I mean, they gave up 373 points last year. The Buccaneers only gave up 325. So I have the Buccaneers second. I think Baker Mayfield will have another good season. They have Mike Evans. They re-signed. The defense is good. I think it's going to be very close between Atlanta and Tampa Bay. Maybe Atlanta won't be all that we think. I mean, we're doing this based on them picking up Kirk Cousins, who is no youngster, and is definitely, once he gets going in the season, he's usually pretty good. In primetime, he never plays very well, so we'll have to see.
Is he better than Desmond Ridder?
Yes, he is much better
So
than Desmond
they were
Ridder.
7 and 10 last year.
Yeah.
They should improve greatly from Desmond Ridder to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Tampa Bay has the opportunity to play better, too. They were 9 and 8. Their strength of schedule is number 27. So they could, I think it'll be between Atlanta and Tampa Bay. And it could be wrong on that. That could be a flip-flop there. I have the Saints at the 3rd and the Carolina Panthers at 4th. The Panthers, I mean, they gave up over 400 points last year on defense. Bryce Young playing very poorly in his rookie season. They have a new coach. Supposedly can get the best out of quarterbacks. He's going to have his work cut out there. But I do think Bryce Young, because he played so poorly last year, will be the biggest bounce in terms of stats this year. And the Saints, Derek Carr, I mean, he's really underperformed from what we thought going to the Saints in his first year. Will he be better? We'll have to wait and see. So that's how I think the South is going to pan out. The NFC West, I'm with you, 49ers, Rams, Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals. 49ers, strength of schedule, number 12. The Rams also number 12. The Seahawks at 24 and the Arizona Cardinals at 24, but I don't see the Seahawks doing a whole lot. Geno Smith, he had kind of a little bit of a setback last year in terms of the way he played 2 years ago. We'll see if he can bounce back. He's not getting any younger. The defense gave up over 400 points last year. They're going to have to improve that. They do have a better running game, so I think that's what gets them up over the Arizona Cardinals in terms of being 3rd instead of last. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray, you haven't heard anything about him anymore. Nobody talks about him anymore. He has coming back off the ACL. He now has Marvin Harrison out there with him. He was a rookie. We'll see how they do together. It could be fun to watch that play. And then the 49ers, if they don't win the Super Bowl, I think it's a failed season for them. So I think you'll see them win at least 12 games in the regular season, get to the NFC Championship minimum, and
well, don't spoil your Super Bowl yet.
Yeah,
We don't want to give stuff away for Tuesday's show.
I won't talk that, but I do think it's a failed season for them if they don't win the Super Bowl. The Rams looked better last year. They found a running game. They've got elite wide receivers. They could do well, but I don't see them beating out the 49ers. Those are my picks.
Well, that does wrap up our NFC standings predictions. We'll look back mid-season, end of the way, to see if anything changes, because we will do this one more time, week 8, week 9, to solidify our picks for the rest of the season, the back half of the season. But yeah, those are the picks. Tuesday's a massive show, by the way. Special guest to the second hour. We're going to give our playoff predictions, our Super Bowl predictions, as well as our first pick of the 2024-25 NFL season, Chiefs, Ravens. Just a little update. Hollywood Brown will not play. Rashee Rice will. So
Rashee Rice?
Yeah.
I see that Smith-Schuster went to the Chiefs.
Yep. He might be out there.
Juju.
Yeah,
He's-
Juju.
He's
Yeah.
back out there.
So, stay tuned for Tuesday's show. It's going to be a massive show. Giving a little bit, giving a teaser out there. Going to be massive. There's a lot of data that needs to be distributed to you guys because Harvey Hot Hands returning. Obviously, weekly picks are also returning there. A lot to talk about them. But for today's episode of the Harvey Hour, my name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We have been your hosts of the Harvey Hour. Massive show. So make sure you tune in 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, live, right here on YouTube.
Yeah, Grandpa.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley